let's talk about the earliest reference of Jesus and prophecy of Jesus in the Bible. Now, when I say earliest, I'm not talking about like earliest dating in the manuscripts. I'm talking about biblical sequence, so the order in which the books are arranged. So, starting right in the book of Genesis, we can go to Genesis 3:15, and it reads, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." So this is God talking to Satan right here. At a first glance, how can this be about Jesus? Well, let's kind of focus in and really take apart the verse. All right, so I will put enmity between you and the woman. So this is a spiritual war that God is declaring on Satan here, starting with Eve. "And between your offspring and her offspring." Now, the Hebrew word for offspring is collective, but it suddenly narrows in on one figure. We then see, "He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." So the woman's seed, her offspring, becomes a single person. So we start from going from her offspring, and then we focus in on a single person who will bruise or crush Satan's head. And this is likely more so referring to the crucifixion of Jesus. While that was fatal in the flesh, he came and he rose again. He was risen from the dead. Whatever God is going to do with Satan in the end, Satan is not going to be able to recover from that. Now let's just look at Galatians 4, verses 4 and 5. "But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who are under the law, so that we might receive adoption as sons." So Paul is making it clear here that God sent forth his Son, born of a woman. Again, we see that here in verse 15 of Genesis 3. So Jesus is called the seed of a woman, right? Born of a woman, but mysteriously has no father. Now we see in Romans 6:20, "The God of peace will soon crush Satan under your feet. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you." So Paul here is connecting the crushing of Satan, right? The crushing of Satan, Paul is now connecting it to the work done by Jesus on the cross with us believers. And then Hebrews 2 verse 14, "Since therefore the children share in flesh and blood, he himself likewise who partook of the same things, that through death he might destroy the one who has the power of death, that is, the devil." Jesus defeats Satan by dying. Okay, so Jesus dies. This is how he is going to defeat Satan. This is how Satan is ultimately going to be defeated in the end. Because Jesus died, he rose from the dead. That is Christ's finished work. So Christ's work is finished. Now, the timeline is still playing out, and it's inevitable. Satan is going to be crushed. Now, I think what's really important about Genesis 3:15 here is that we look here where it says offspring, okay? So the word here, and I will put, okay, so yeah, between your seed and her seed. So this Hebrew word here, this more commonly is talking about the male lineage, not the female lineage. And so when it's used in this passage here, it's kind of unique. So women don't typically have seed when we're talking biblical Hebrew here. Now, when we see it talking about Satan, when it says your seed, it is more of a collective word. It's used more collectively, but then it instantly switches to a singular pronoun when we see he will crush your head and strike you on the heel. So again, it goes from "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers." So we're talking collectively here. And then it focuses in, "He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." And so I think the combination of this, as well as the usage of seed here, is hinting at a miraculous birth. And obviously there's nothing ordinary about the birth of Jesus, right? Born of a virgin. And so I think that this little hint that we see in the first book of the Bible, I think it's such an interesting thing to look at. So thank you for watching. I hope that this was interesting. I know it definitely interests me. I'm going to keep looking into this one. I'm going to keep looking into some other ones. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later. God bless.